Once upon a time.
I don't know why I thought holding them like this was a good idea. I think I'm stuck like this till somebody finds me. Hi guys, my name is Chad Barnier and welcome back to my YouTube channel where I talk all things musical theatre. And as you can tell by the title and the intro of the video, I'm a little bit obsessed and it can literally overwhelm me sometimes. So a few years ago, my incredibly generous partner bought me a record player for Christmas and I immediately fell in love. I started buying records from vintage stores and hunting for different records. And when I really started to dive into my love of musical theatre, it seemed to be this perfect marriage of two fascinations and two hobbies. Musical theatre vinyl exists, but it's not a heavily sought after niche of vinyl. So anytime I go to a record fair or a vintage store, there's usually something lying around and they go really cheap because no one's hunting for them. Over the last few years, I've really kind of found a love of digging through milk crates to get some really gorgeous theatre records. I'm going to go through all my records and show you them, but I'm not going to talk in depth about all of them because I think talking about all of them in depth would easily be like 45 minutes. So I might just talk about some of my favorites and talk about maybe the story of how I got them. I don't know. Okay, so my first one is this Premier collection of the best Andrew Lloyd Webber. So I have two of these. One of them I bought myself, and I think the other one my mum got me. My mum is an absolute sweetheart. She used to work at a theatre and might be why I got into musical theatre in the first place. She introduced me to some really great shows. She'll dive through vintage stores and just go hunting for records for me, which is really fun. 42nd Street. I don't know too much about this show. I know it's a classic David Merrick show, and it's kind of one of those meta shows where it's about the theatre. I'm a really big Sondheim fan, so I've got a lot of his records here. This is A Little Night Music, which is stunning, and it's a little bit worn. A few of these are quite worn. I get them at like vintage stores or markets. They've had a life before their life with me. Next is A Book of Mormon. I have some friends that are really into record collecting as well, but more like punk music and rock music. And I remember going to a record store with them and they were buying some like really like kind of hard, punchy rock punk music. And then I emerged from the shadows with a Book of Mormon record, which is very typical of me. This is quite a stunning record, I think, from memory. Oh yeah, here we go. It's actually gold, which is quite cool. A lot of records are black. I'm not sure if this is like a limited edition or if that's just how they come. I am a bit of a nerd, but I don't keep too much up with like editions and stuff. So this is Barbra Streisand, the Broadway album. This is Barbara doing like covers of some of the greatest musical theatre classics. This is actually one of my first musical theatre records and I love it a lot. I got it for like $5 or $6 at like the Salvation Army. And there are a lot of Sondheim songs on here. It's quite beautiful. This is Camelot with Julie Andrews and Richard Burton. I know next to nothing about this musical, but I wanted it and I bought it and now I have it. Everybody's favorite, Cats. This is kind of like a sampling vinyl. So it's just like a one disc kind of thing with some photos. And then this one it opens up. It's a bifold kind of thing. It's got two records, and it's a little bit more in-depth. Bit of a divisive musical, Cats, but a classic. Chess. This is a musical I know next to nothing about. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is a stunning movie with Dick Van Dyke, who you'll know from Mary Poppins, and it's a Sherman Brothers musical. So Sherman Brothers also did like Jungle Book and a few other things. A Chorus Line, which is a gorgeous musical by Marvin Hamlish. This is a great show about getting into showbiz and trying and not necessarily making it, which is a great narrative to hear as a creative person that it might just not work for you. A little fun fact, my uncle was in the first ever Australian production of this show. A lot of new shows are starting to get on board with releasing vinyl as well, which is the case for this gorgeous show, Dear Evan Hansen. You guys might know that I love Dear Evan Hansen. I have a Dear Evan Hansen tattoo to the lyrics to Waving Through a Window. So I was very, very excited when my partner bought me this one. This is actually also blue disc, which is very cool. I think this is my only Pasek and Paul record. Oh no, I've got La La Land. Little spoiler alert. Another show I know nothing about, Dr. Zhivago. Remember My Name, Fame. I have 2 Fame records here. So this is the Kids from Fame live. So this is recordings from the UK tour. And this one is the soundtrack, the original soundtrack to the movie. I don't know too much about Fame. I know it was one of the first musicals I ever saw. My mum used to work at a theatre in my hometown, and Fame was on there when I was a little kid, and I went and saw it, and I just remember people dancing on cars and lots of colour, but that's all I remember. So this is fun. This is Fiddler on the Roof, a classic musical, and I have 3 different versions. So this is the original Broadway cast recording with Zero Mostel. This is the original motion picture soundtrack. If you haven't seen the movie, it's incredible. I think it's on Stan if you're in Australia. The same cast that's the production of it. This is kind of like in the top 5 musicals of all time. Pretty incredible show. This show just makes me want to dance and say, if I were a rich man. That's just giving me an idea for another video about pop songs that actually originated on Broadway. Maybe I'll do that. That's a cool idea. I need to remember that one. Barbara Streisand in Funny Girl and Funny Lady. If you don't know these shows, there are movies of them, so you can check those out. Okay, so this is Godspell, and I don't know much about Godspell. I know that apparently everyone does a version of it. I've got 4 different Godspell records. I know it's Stephen Schwartz, who you'll know from Wicked and Prince of Egypt and Pocahontas. The Gondoliers, Gilbert and Sullivan. Then we have Hair. So do you know what this means? Alexander Hamilton. So this is quite a gorgeous collection of records. I say collection because this box set, you open it up, it even has a pull tie on it. So you receive a booklet which has a whole bunch of lyrics and pictures, and then, check this out, 4 different records. And on the front of each of them you've got Hamilton on top of the logo, the star. You've got Chris Jackson playing George Washington on this one here. Then we have Eliza and Hamilton on top of the star here. And then Aaron Burr on top of this one. Hamilton's amazing. Lin-Manuel Miranda, if you're watching, you're amazing. Okay, next up we have Hedwig and the Angry Inch with Neil Patrick Harris. This is the Broadway production and has a very, very sexy pale pink vinyl. There is a movie of this one as well. You should definitely check that out. HMS Pinafore, Gilbert and Sullivan. So time for one of my favorites, Into the Woods. I literally have this on my record player right now. I play it all the time. I hunted for this record for like 3 years. Not every musical gets its own vinyl release, which is quite sad, and I wish that they did. So if you're putting on a musical, maybe record it and let me know. And there is an annual record fair here in Sydney, the Glebe Record Fair, and I've gone 2 years now. And the first year I went to the record fair, I had great success and I got something that took me ages to find. And the second year, just as we were about to head home, I stopped at one last place and they happened to have this one and my partner bought it for me. I love it so, so much. It's probably one of my favorite musicals and I feel really lucky to have this record. On the inside, we've got a whole bunch of stunning photos from the original Broadway production. So you've got Bernadette Peters and Joanna Gleason. And then we also have a bit of a booklet. So the booklet actually has like a story and a bit of like how it came about, which is super cool. Got lyrics, obviously, pictures from the production. This next musical, I'm not sure if I love it. Everyone seems to. It's a classic and I get it. I understand why people like it. I think maybe the music's dated since it came out and so it's been hard for me to get into. I also think it's quite a controversial topic and quite confronting to watch. And so that is Jesus Christ Superstar. So this is actually quite a stunning version. I believe 1970 and has like members of Deep Purple and Joe Cocker's Grease Band. With Ian, so Ian Gillan is playing Jesus Christ in this one. This one here is quite beat up and it even has someone's name written in it because they got it second, third or fourth hand. Jesus Christ Superstar, not my favorite, but one of my favorites is Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. I only have this version of this one and I know there's a few more out there that I'd love to get. There's actually one with a denim jacket with patches all over it, which is very my vibe. So I'll probably get that one in the future. But I love this record. I love this show. Andrew Lloyd Webber, who has shows that you either love or you hate. This is my loved one. The King and I, another great show. Is this my first Rodgers and Hammerstein in this whole lineup? You've probably seen this movie, La La Land. I loved it. It has 2 records. One of them just has like gorgeous jazz background music. And so I put this on all the time if I just need to think or like focus on work. Man of La Mancha. This is the classic Don Quixote story. This is completely falling apart. I got this for like $1. The guy was like, oh, I think there's something in that box over there. Whatever you find, it's $1. And so there's this. It's very beat up, but I didn't have it, so I bought it. Man of La Mancha. Okay, so this makes my heart really happy. My partner is completely obsessed with Mary Poppins, and I love Mary Poppins. Anything Disney. I love anything Julie Andrews, anything Dick Van Dyke. My mum had a version, had a record of this, and her mum had a version. This is her mum's version, and this is my mum's. This is from the movie. This is from a different production, or just covers. And this is one I got recently, which is Duke Ellington plays the score. So it's quite cool. I haven't actually opened that one yet. I love Mary Poppins. My partner, it means the world to us. So this has a very special place in my heart. So one of the most classic shows of all time, My Fair Lady. I have 2 versions here. I think they're the same show, actually. This one just opens up. This one's got a booklet. But when you do buy records secondhand, you have to contend with people spilling coffee, or maybe it's chalky milk. If you don't know My Fair Lady, please go and listen to Wouldn't It Be Lovely? Or I Could Have Danced All Night. They're both stunning songs, and Julie Andrews just makes you smile. Oh my gosh, I love Julie Andrews. I'm looking down at my pile, and I'm still only like 60% of the way through. Let's maybe smash through the next few. Oliver. Once, from the movie version, not the stage version. Playing in Sydney soon, and it's one of my dream roles. The Phantom of the Opera. I love this musical, but I love this more. This actual record. Because to me, I remember being in France with my partner at the Opera Garnier, where this is supposedly set. And I bought it in the gift shop there, and I loved it. It just makes me think of my partner and how much I love her and how much a little bit sappy. Was that too sappy? I think that was too sappy. Gilbert and Sullivan, Pirates of Penzance. Andrew Lloyd Webber, Requiem. Yes, another one of my dream roles. The School of Rock. I got this in London when I saw it on the West End. This is actually the second one I bought, because I bought one and then I think I left it at a cafe or something. And I went back and it wasn't there, and I was really upset about it. So I went back and bought another one. You might recognize the voice of Dewey Finn, aka Mr. Schneebly, as Alex Brightman, who is currently on Broadway in Beetlejuice, who are up for a bunch of Tonys this year, and have just announced that they are recording their Broadway cast album as well. So please, if you're watching this, print it on vinyl. I need to start my Alex Brightman collection. And if you're a casting agent, me, yeah, put me in your show. Starlight Express. I got this last week, and what can I say? Starlight Express. Sound of Music, Sound of Music, The Sound of Music, The Sound of Music. South Pacific, one I've had for a while. One I got last week. South Pacific, Rodgers and Hammerstein. And this one has Mandy Patinkin. Okay, so say what you will about movie musicals, but I love them. I like that I'm doing a bit of a reveal every time. I love Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper in it. I also love seeing Anthony Ramos from Hamilton and the new In the Heights movie. That's exciting. And another video I'm about to do. It's a beautiful story, a heartbreaking story. The whole soundtrack is a gorgeous blend of pop and rock and country. It's really good, and I play it all the time on record or on the guitar. Okay, so more Mandy Patinkin, Bernadette Peters, and Sondheim. Sunday in the Park with George. Classic musical. I'm actually planning a tattoo around lyrics from this. It's all about kind of that creative process and losing yourself in your work. And Sondheim talks beautifully about it in his books, Finishing the Hat and Look, I Made a Hat. Okay, so this next record is one of my favorites. It's one of my favorite musicals, one of my favorite Sondheims. I have a tattoo of it. I'm a little bit obsessed. And it was the first record that I hunted for. I struggled for like maybe 2 years to find this record. And then my sister finally bought it for me when we went to a record fair together, and it's Sweeney Todd with Angela Lansbury and Len Carrier. It throws me off a little bit when I listen to it because they've got that horrible noise, the boat like whistle noise. Man, when you put it through a sound system with like good bass, it is terrifying to listen to. So you got pictures of the cast from the production, and you've also got this really stunning, I feel like I'm doing story time at a kindergarten. You've got this gorgeous book as well that runs you through the story. You got lyrics, you got the cast and crew. It's really quite stunning. So that's probably one of my most prized possessions, that one there. We are almost finished, I promise. The first ever Sondheim musical, actually I'll correct myself, the first ever Sondheim on Broadway musical was West Side Story. So Sondheim did the lyrics for this, Leonard Bernstein did the music, and it's essentially the musical theatre's version of Romeo and Juliet. So it's Romeo and Juliet set in New York City. Two feuding families, aka the Americans and the Puerto Ricans, aka the Jets and the Sharks, where they have really violent dance battles and ballet battles. Really, really violent. This is the reason why we know Stephen Sondheim today, so I'm forever thankful to West Side Story. Now, if you know how to do your ABCs, you'll know that this was coming, but at the very end. So this is one of the biggest cult following musicals of all time, Wicked. Stunning show, stunning story. Idina Menzel is just phenomenal. And we've got Kristen Chenoweth, and Kristen Chenoweth. Written by Stephen Schwartz, who did Godspell, like I mentioned before, Pocahontas. I believe we're actually getting a Wicked movie in the next few years. We apparently have a date for it now. Mark Platt, Ben Platt's father, is a musical and film producer. He was a producer on the Broadway production of this, but he also does a lot of musical movies. Perhaps we will finally get to see Wicked in the cinema. And last, but certainly not least, The Wiz. This is another take on The Wizard of Oz, just as Wicked is. Wicked is kind of like a prequel, and The Wiz is just like an alternate version. It's quite stunning. I don't listen to it nearly enough for songs that I actually quite like. There is a movie version with Michael Jackson in it, so you can check that out if you like it. Ease on Down the Road is like the famous song. So I hope you liked that. A little bit of an insight into the world of musical theatre record. I can't believe I went through all those records. I also can't believe how much time this is going to take to edit. The question of the day: which one of these records do you wish you had? And let me know in the comments. If you like musical theatre stuff and you like this video, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already and hit that little notification bell. Leave me a like so I know that you enjoyed it, and let me know in the comments as well.